A blinding white glare pierces through the darkness as consciousness slowly returns to a mind clouded by absolute exhaustion. The young man sits up abruptly on a pristine, unfamiliar mattress while staring down at his unrecognizable hands. His fingers trace the smooth contours of a face that does not belong to the weary author who went to sleep just hours prior. He leaps out of the bed and rushes directly toward a large mirror mounted on the metallic wall. Staring back at him is a handsome but completely ordinary teenage boy wearing a high-collared black and gold uniform. A sudden surge of foreign memories floods into his brain, revealing the identity of this body as a low-tier cadet named Kim Hae-jin. The name strikes a massive chord, forcing him to recognize that this is the exact setting of his own abandoned web novel. This world is a brutal apocalyptic landscape teeming with monsters, demons, and powerful superhuman warriors trained to hunt them. Kim Hae-jin was never meant to be a hero. He was just a nameless background extra, intended to die early in the narrative. His wandering eyes suddenly spot a familiar object resting quietly on the corner of the sleek study desk. It is his old, battered personal laptop from the real world, looking completely out of place in this hyper-advanced setting. He reaches out trembling fingers and lifts the lid of the machine, causing the screen to instantly boot into a glowing interface. Instead of his normal desktop wallpaper, a highly detailed character status window fills the entire digital display. The screen details his abysmal current attributes, marking him as the weakest student within the entire elite academy. A unique system prompt reveals that he possesses special creation points capable of modifying his own reality. To survive inside this lethal world, he knows he cannot rely on brute physical strength or standard magical prowess. His fingers rapidly tap against the mechanical keyboard as he decides to pour every single resource into a hidden stat. He allocates his points directly into the luck attribute, removing its traditional constraints to achieve an uncapped status. A soft golden chime echoes out from the ancient hardware, confirming that his fundamental fortune has been permanently rewritten. A loud electronic alarm suddenly blares from a speaker overhead, announcing the immediate start of weapon orientation. Hae-jin stands up straight, adjusts the crisp collar of his academy uniform, and strides confidently out into the corridor. The hallway opens up into a massive, state-of-the-art training stadium packed with hundreds of elite cadets. Whispers drift through the air as powerful prodigies from influential clans gather to claim their chosen instruments of destruction. At the front of the room stands the main protagonist of this world, exuding an aura of pure, natural talent. Hae-jin quietly observes them from the very back of the crowd, well aware of the terrifying gap in their combat abilities. A stern-faced instructor steps up to a high podium and gestures toward a vast array of high-grade weapons. Racks filled with glowing magical swords, heavy battle axes, and intricate crystalline spears line the entire presentation area. One by one, the top-ranked students walk up to select formidable weapons that perfectly complement their immense magical reserves. In this magical era, close-quarters melee weapons are universally considered the only path to true power. Finally, the electronic display screen flashes Hae-jin's name, calling the lowest-ranked extra up to the podium. He steps forward from the crowd, ignoring the dismissive glances and quiet snickers echoing from his peers. He bypasses the rows of magnificent swords and shimmering spears without sparing them a single glance. He walks directly toward the very edge of the pavilion, where the most unpopular rejected gear is stored. Resting inside a simple, unadorned case is a mechanical handgun, a weapon considered completely useless against high-tier monsters. Firearms cannot channel normal human mana efficiently, making them a laughingstock among serious modern warriors. But Hae-jin knows that his uncapped luck attribute will transform this discarded tool into an absolute nightmare for his enemies. A collective gasp ripples across the entire stadium as he lifts the firearm and clears the chamber with a sharp click. The elite instructor frowns deeply, raising an eyebrow at what he assumes is an act of utter academic suicide. Holding the cold steel weight in his palm, Hae-jin smiles faintly as a brand new notification updates on his mental interface. Sudden tremors rock the stadium floor as a violent red warning icon overrides the main presentation screen, signaling an unscheduled anomaly. The violent, red-flashing warning icons instantly sent a jolt of panic through the crowded orientation stadium. Students began whispering frantically to one another as instructors rushed toward the central podium to regain control. Kim Hae-jin merely squinted his eyes at the screen, recognizing this specific systemic event from the early outline of his own novel. The electronic broadcast system crackled to life, announcing that the standard training assignment schedule had been forcibly accelerated by the Academy Board. Instead of a basic mock combat assessment, the freshmen were ordered to immediately prepare for a live-fire dungeon training raid. Stepping forward from the elite class rows, Yu Yanha flipped her long black hair with supreme confidence as she reviewed the digital roster. Her elegant purple eyes narrowed to slits when she noticed that her assigned support marksman was the absolute lowest-ranked extra in the class. Hajin walked toward his designated squad assembly point, completely ignoring the condescending whispers of his high-ranking peers. A nearby heavy warrior student snickered loudly, pointing out that a flimsy, low-caliber handgun would do absolutely nothing against real dungeon monsters. Ignoring the continuous taunts, Hajin opened his interface laptop inside his mind to check the status of his modified luck attribute. The uncapped luck value shimmered brilliantly in golden text, assuring him that destiny would tilt heavily in his favor during the impending battle. Yu Yonha approached him with stiff steps and explicitly told him to just stay in the back and avoid getting in her way. As the massive armored blast doors slowly ground upward, a chilly, damp subterranean wind rushed out to greet the squad. The squad stepped into the damp cavern, their footsteps echoing ominously against the wet stone walls. Yu Yonha unsheathed her elegant rapier, the fine blade instantly humming with a sharp concentration of purple magical mana. Hajin unholstered his sleek training handgun, quietly checking the chamber to ensure his mana-infused bullets were properly aligned. A sudden, rhythmic clicking sound began to echo from the dark ceiling fissures far ahead of their position. Without warning, a massive swarm of explosive baby octopuses dropped down from the dark, writhing in a frantic frenzy. The vanguard heavy warrior panicked instantly, swinging his oversized claymore wildly but missing the small, agile targets completely. One of the highly volatile creatures latched onto his heavy steel breastplate, its internal thermal core expanding rapidly toward detonation. Yu Yanha lunged forward to strike it away, but the sheer number of incoming creatures quickly overwhelmed her defensive line. Seeing his entire team about to be wiped out in the very first encounter, Hajin took a deep breath and activated his hidden bullet time skill. Instantly, the chaotic world slowed down to an absolute crawl, turning the leaping explosive monsters into stationary targets floating in midair. Hajin's enhanced perception calculated the precise trajectory of every single threat with absolute mechanical certainty. With his uncapped luck guiding his steady hand, he squeezed the trigger repeatedly in a flawless, rapid rhythm. Brilliant blue mana bullets erupted from the barrel, slicing through the stagnant air like absolute streaks of pure starlight. Each precise shot struck the exact structural weak point of a baby octopus, causing them to safely deflate and dissolve before they could detonate. The system interface flashed continuous success alerts directly into his field of vision as the absolute annihilation proceeded. Time instantly snapped back to its normal frantic velocity, as Hajin lowered his smoking weapon with a relaxed posture. Yu Yanha gasped loudly, blinking in complete disbelief as the massive wave of monsters vanished into thin air within a single fraction of a second. The panicked heavy warrior looked down at his clean armor, utterly bewildered by the sudden disappearance of the lethal explosive threat. She slowly turned her head toward the back of the group, her gaze locking onto the low-ranked boy she had completely dismissed earlier. Hajin calmly reloaded a fresh clip into his handgun, the mechanical click echoing clearly in the stunned silence of the cave. The tactical smartwatches worn by the students suddenly beeped in unison, calculating the individual contribution scores for the battle. Kim Hajin's name instantly shot straight to the absolute peak of the scoreboard, showing an impossible 99% contribution rate. The remaining teammates stared at their own single-digit scores, completely unable to comprehend what kind of monstrous skill they had just witnessed. Yu Yonha stepped closer to Hajin, her pride severely stung but her sharp intellect demanding an immediate explanation for his hidden power. He simply brushed past her without saying a single word, focused entirely on clearing the rest of the layout to secure his survival rewards. His complete subversion of the original plotline had successfully earned him massive amounts of SP points from the laptop system. But as they approached the final chamber of the zone, the modern electronic mapping on their smartwatches completely died, leaving them in absolute dark as a colossal, multi-eyed shadow loomed directly ahead. The thick darkness inside the museum main hall feels heavy as the magical distortion fields completely sever all outside communication networks. Elite Academy students look around frantically while their smartwatches flicker violently with error messages before going completely dead. A terrifyingly massive shadow with dozens of glowing crimson eyes stretches across the marble floor toward the helpless cadets. The main protagonist charges forward with his legendary sword raised, but a sudden shockwave of dark energy slams him heavily into a stone pillar. Kim Ha-jin watches the main character fall unconscious from behind a fallen display case, realizing the original plot has completely broken down. He swiftly pulls out his translucent glowing laptop from his spatial inventory to check the modified settings of this deadly scenario. The screen reveals that a high-tier demonic human is manipulating the museum's barrier to massacre everyone inside. Ha-jin realizes that his ordinary physical bullets will do absolutely zero damage against a creature born purely of dark mana. He opens the author modification menu and spends a massive chunk of his remaining SP to rewrite the properties of his ammunition. A brilliant, pure white light begins to coat the silver bullets as the system infuses them with the rarest light attribute magic. Across the hall, the colossal demonic human slowly materializes from the mist, holding a jagged dark blade over a cornered student. Yu Yonha trembles violently as her elemental spells dissipate instantly against the overwhelming pressure of the monster's aura. The demonic entity laughs hoarsely as it swings the corrupt blade downward to execute the highest-ranking cadet in the room. A deafening gunshot rings through the cavernous hall as a single white streak of light cuts perfectly through the oppressive gloom. The white bullet strikes the demonic human's blade directly, shattering the dark metal into thousands of smoking, corrupted fragments. The entity howls in agonizing pain as the residual light attribute magic burns through its shadowy arms like pure acid. All the surviving cadets turn their eyes toward the back of the hall, completely stunned to see the lowest-ranked extra standing there. Ha-jin slowly steps out from the shadows, his expression utterly unbothered as he chambers another modified white bullet into his pistol. The demonic human regenerates its limbs using raw malice and glares at Ha-jin with pure, unadulterated hatred. It lunges across the room at impossible speed, moving like a dark blur, intended to tear Ha-jin into pieces instantly. Ha-jin calmly triggers his master-tier bullet time skill, causing the entire world to slow down to an absolute crawl around him. With the monster frozen mid-air just a few feet away, he clearly targets the glowing core located deep inside its chest. Relying on his maxed-out luck attribute to guarantee a perfect hit, he pulls the trigger 3 times in rapid succession. Time snaps back to normal speed as 3 blinding white beams pierce directly through the demonic creature's vital core. The demonic entity disintegrates into fine black ash, screaming in agony as the anti-magic field it created shatters completely. Outside, emergency sirens begin to wail in the distance as the Academy's reinforcing high-rank heroes finally break inside the building. Medical teams rush through the halls, immediately tending to the wounded protagonist and the shocked elite cadets on the stairs. Yu Yonha looks around the bustling hall for her mysterious savior, but finds absolutely no trace of the boy with the gun. Kim Ha-jin walks away quietly through a secluded side exit, watching a system notification pop up in front of his eyes. The glowing system message confirms that the deadly fate of his classmates has been permanently rewritten, rewarding him with massive SP points. He realizes that with this massive amount of power now stored in his laptop, he can survive any obstacle this dangerous world throws at him. The mysterious co-author who corrupted his novel will definitely notice this massive disruption in the timeline very soon. But Ha-jin is no longer a helpless extra waiting to be slaughtered by the cruel plot points of an apocalyptic setting. Armed with his ultimate cheat code laptop and his uncapped luck stat, he will fully take control of this entire universe. He takes a deep breath and steps forward into his new reality, ready to rewrite the ultimate ending on his own absolute terms.